Having a baby requires a lot of selfless acts and sacrifice. Mother's body changes, her mood changes, she becomes more careful about everything, and countless changes happen in her life. Even having one's own baby is hard enough. There are thankfully surrogate mothers who go through all of this for other people who cannot conceive. After watching a documentary about surrogacy, Shaniece knew she was destined to help someone by giving the miracle of life. To her, welcoming a baby is one of the most blessing moments in one's life. She was only 21 at the time, but she felt ready to embark on this journey. However, she got a whole lot more than what she bargained for when her stomach grew abnormally large. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to get inspired by these real-life stories every day. Shaniece Sturdy was born and raised in the town of Carshalton, England. She had a relatively normal childhood, with parents that loved her and friends that cared for her. When she was 18 years old, she and her boyfriend, Thomas, were very much in love. After only a few months of being in love, Shaniece and Thomas began to notice the cracks that seemed to be growing in their relationship. They found themselves constantly bickering and began to wonder if they might have rushed into things. After going in circles for a few months, Thomas was the one to finally call it quits. Of course, Shaniece was heartbroken. Thomas had cut off all contact and basically disappeared. Little did she know, this breakup was about to become a whole lot harder. After a month or so of crying on the couch, Shaniece began to feel symptoms of sickness. She felt terrible nausea, and the strangest smells were setting her off. This made her start wondering when was the last time she got her period. After what seemed like 100 home pregnancy tests, Shaniece had no doubt about it. She was pregnant with the child of someone who was no longer wanting anything to do with her. She cried and panicked. She was as scared as any 19-year-old would be in this situation. After the initial shock, Shaniece was bravely going through with the pregnancy on her own, and she couldn't have been happier. The 9 months flew by, and she felt so in sync with her baby. Before she knew it, little Riley Sturdy came into the world. Shaniece loved being a mother and constantly thought about how lucky she was to have such a special son. Watching him grow up was a truly remarkable, and every night when she put him to bed, she counted her blessing. One night after she had put Riley to bed, she went to relax and watch some TV. Shaniece remembers that she started watching a documentary about surrogacy, and she was overwhelmed with the idea of helping another couple have a baby, she said. Especially after learning there is such a shortage of surrogates and so many people struggling to have children naturally. This stuck with her, and she decided to do a bit more research. How did it all work? Was surrogacy a regular avenue for couples to turn to? I went online, found the British Surrogacy Center, and emailed them for more information, says Shaniece. The process turned out to be a lot quicker than she anticipated. I went in for a meeting and they did lots of physical and psychological tests to make sure I was right for surrogacy. She couldn't help but feel like this was her destiny. It might sound strange, she says, but I just felt it was meant to be. At the time I was studying beauty therapy at college and Riley had just turned 1. I knew if I was really serious about surrogacy, this was the time to do it. Within a few weeks, the Surrogacy Center started sending her profiles of couples that were trying to start a family. Joanna and Steve really stood out, and while I don't want to reveal too much about them, they seemed like a lovely couple. I went to meet them at the center and we clicked instantly, said Shaniece. They told me all about themselves and I chatted about Riley. I was told to take my time making a decision, but on the train on the way home, I emailed and said, let's go for it. Shaniece didn't tell her family straight away about her surrogacy plans in case they didn't approve. She added, I decided to conduct all my own research beforehand, and it wasn't until I met the hopeful parents that I told anyone. Although it seemed like this was moving too fast, even Shaniece's parents knew they couldn't stop her. My mom always says about me, if Shaniece wants to do it, she'll do it. And the same was true with surrogacy, she said. She continued, I knew it was something I wanted to do, and I felt honored that the thought that this couple were willing to put their trust into me to carry their child. That was all very well, but the starting process proved to be a lot harder than Shaniece had anticipated. The physical process of my surgery isn't easy, said Shaniece, especially when you're a single mom. I was a gestational surrogate, which meant I would have the couple's fertilized embryo implanted in my uterus. I had to take lots of different drugs and inject myself with progesterone to get my body ready to have the embryo implanted. I remember calling the couple saying I couldn't bear to do it. The needle was massive, but they were brilliant and stayed on the phone for an hour talking me through it. This was a scary time for Shaniece. Her mother was worried Shaniece would become too attached to the baby and get her heart broken. However, her brother was very supportive and would fly with her to LA, where the British Surrogacy Center had a medical center. She began to feel the pressure of what she was doing. I had the embryo implanted and then flew home. It was a nervous wait to find out if I was pregnant. The couple kept phoning to ask how I felt, and it seemed like there was so much riding on it. After a few weeks of waiting, Shaniece went for a blood test to see if she was pregnant, and sure enough, she was. So we were all delighted and burst into tears, remembers Shaniece. She and the family could never forget this day. Before they knew it, it was time for Shaniece to have her first scan. However, nothing could have prepared them for what the monitor showed. They found a heartbeat, and then another heartbeat. That's right, twins. Shaniece, Joanna, and Steve couldn't believe it. At our first scan at just a few weeks pregnant, we were all told I was carrying twins. Joanna and Steve had already picked their twin pram, said Shaniece. Shaniece's belly continued to grow bigger and bigger, but she figured this was just because she had two big, healthy babies growing inside. At the 10-week scan, I joked, I wondered if they will find another heartbeat, she said. Well, she may have joked a little too soon, because to everyone's absolute surprise, the doctors found a third heartbeat in Shaniece's big belly. She wasn't having twins, but rather triplets. Thankfully, her pregnancy was pretty easy. I had no morning sickness or cravings. The whole pregnancy flew by with the support of Joanna and Steve. It was amazing, and I would recommend it to anyone, she said. They had planned for Shaniece to have a cesarean section during the first week of November. However, her water broke on the night of Halloween. I phoned the couple straight away, and we all met at the hospital, where the doctors rushed me down for emergency surgery, remembers Shaniece. The caring mom recalled, Joanna came down to the theater with me, and although I was nervous, all I cared about was ensuring the babies were delivered safe and healthy. The triplets were taken to intensive care, but Willow, Daisy, and Harrison were all perfectly fine, weighing 4 pounds, 3 pounds, and 3 pounds respectively. The babies were taken to the ICU while I was wheeled to a recovery, she remembers. She lay in a ward with all other mothers who had just given birth. I could hear their cries as I lay there on my own. This was the hardest part for Shaniece. Joanna and Steve feared that she may be having a change of heart, but she was just emotionally and physically exhausted. They thanked her over and over again. When Shaniece felt well enough to meet the babies, she felt honored to have been a part of this experience. This process made Shaniece 30 the UK's youngest surrogate mother, and she has no regrets. Cleaning business owner Shaniece, now 24, said, even though I was only 21 and it was a huge responsibility carrying their babies, it was one of the best experiences of my life. I was only supposed to be helping the family have a brother or sister for their little girl, but I ended up having them 3 babies at once. The little triplets, Willow, Daisy, and Harrison, are happy babies, and Shaniece has a good relationship with their family. Shaniece also believes that the laws surrounding surrogacy need to be changed in the UK so hopeful parents can have more control. She added, throughout the pregnancy, I had all the questions about the babies directed at me. For example, birth plans, vaccinations, scan dates. I would just turn to Joanna and Steve and say, what do you want to do? It was my body, but they weren't my babies. If the law could change so the parents could make the decision, it would make things easier on both parts. Things also started to look up for Shaniece. I'm in a relationship now and like to have more children, she said. Every Halloween, she flies to LA to visit them on their birthday. Sadly, Shaniece recently had a miscarriage, so she often wonders if having triplets had an effect on her body. However, she has no regrets and loves that she was able to help a family achieve their dream. It really doesn't matter how old you are, as long as you're ready and understand the importance of what you're doing. Surrogacy is one of the best things I've ever done apart from having my own child. I felt so proud at being able to give the gift of life. If you enjoyed the video, kindly give it a thumbs up, leave a comment in the comment section down below, and share it with others. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.